Yawa skeno swagwegi. Ai nagai gai wain dakwa gawanit ka hanaga na wawena gawanit ka sene ganohenyo. Idi naga wa gai wain dakwa ne tono gadagot ne ohendo gai wadekwi na idi nagan di odiati nai nagan dan wadat nohenyo agwen ken yoko gwegi. Dane didi ni otik swat ni guhan. And dana idi nagan te gai nai nagan iti no ta wen jak idi ngwadawai agin gwai te gun sota. Nai di asun again was a go hun de asun go tendi hadi nai again was a go hun de nesungwa disai and nai di oya nai nanga wa hoyen twasi to na wadi no kwat sage nai kwat to di nai ga na wadi o yage nai naga oya na diun he kwidi un kisne odi niguha and dana di ya nai nanga gai wa inda kwan gawanit ka nanga na gwegi got katwi hadi and wadi no hanyo wadan wa haina da hantona wen ja gedin gwadawai agin gwai ta kun sota dana di ya nai nanga sa nanga na ona nanga gad wadi no hanyo di nigu hane oneganos wi hoane gaya dagin hase gwegi ne agin gwai ta kun sota ne ungwedin gwadawai and dana di ya o nanga na sa di o wa ye nanga na hadi wano dundi is a hanu sas tak ne oneganos to na wen ja gedin gwadawai dana di ya o ya nanga na agwegi hodi nigu ha skanu tuano tonyo to kwa gwegi wadama haina da hanto na wen ja ge dana go ya nanga na said wachi ande ka kai kwa dies hoska agita kona ne said wachia nanga te gaye dio ha tekta wen ja gedin gwadawai nai gaye dagin hasa agwegi wadama haina da hanto na wen ja ge kwa tudi nanga na iti soda sun ka kai kwa dies Goyo di hadi wasa gawi hunda tuna wanja gedin gwadawai ngwaksata hendo ngahawista ngwatkatwi hadi goyo di hadi ne iti soda sun kakai kwa nai gwato nanga ne ujista nu kwainyo sa ganya dade ne had nai nagant gaye asun ngwatkatwi hadi hodio di hadi wasa gawi hunda ne sungwa disa ito ko kanya de hanage sungwa disa indwa de no ha to hagwa nai naga oya nai naga gai ni ungwe de na di un kien ya do asun hodio di hadi wasa gawi hunda down adi naga na skada handwai ang kwa ni go ha wadi etino ha gwegi wadama ha na da na o ne wa hosa ti tuna wanja ge ti un go da wai agyung gwai de gung sota nai gwa to di nai naga na to kwa kanya de hanage sungwa di sai asun naga gwat ka twi hadi en sa wada ha na da ha to na wanja ge ne etino ha cha wanja de dana naga skada did wa we nunya wadi etino ha asun naga gwat ka twi hadi agwegi wadama ha na da ha to na wanja ge dana to di ni otik ungwa ni guha. Greetings, everyone, and welcome here to ASU. I'm honored to be here today with a message that was given to us over 1,000 years ago, which is still in effect and strong today. Not quite as strong as we had first when we received it because of the people that came to our shores. And so I'll start out with at the beginning of our times. My name is Haiwagai. I sit at the Onondaga Nation Council of Chiefs, who have and hold one of the oldest democracies that we know of. As I speak, we all know of democracies across the Western Hemisphere, across Western world. Well, it originated at Onondaga, and that's where I'm from. The peacemaker, for lack of a better translation, we'll call it, we're not to use his name other than ceremonial, delivered us a message of peace. Because at one time, when we come from Sky Woman and the world was created here so we could walk about, Creator had put down all different things that for us to survive on and be content with. At this time, we were battling across the forest. Our forest is in what is now New York State. New York State is in our woods, the way we understand it. And so at this time, we're running about in the forest, and we're battling each other, fiercely attacking each other and so forth. And we received this message of peace. We were doing this at that time. We were doing it because at the time we thought we were entertaining the Creator because we were so good at it. And we carried on that way. And the message came to us of peace and unity, and it was explained about that, peace. And so at the beginning of our message, it took a long time for us to understand this. It was shared with us. What I had just explained to you in my language, Onondaga, is a thanksgiving. We were reminded of this, that this is how you begin your gatherings of any sort, whether large or small. We start off first with greeting one another and acknowledging everybody's wellness enough to be here. We put our minds kindly and respectfully to one. We all have the same mind now, and we greet each other kindly and respectfully, and our minds will be that way. And so then we move on to Mother Earth and all that she's providing for us. And her duties are still going on, and we acknowledge all of them individually as we speak the words of thanksgiving. It's called Ganohenyo and Onondaga. And so we travel about in our minds through all of what is here for us to survive and walk about peacefully on earth. We kindly and respectfully put our minds together as one and give a great thanksgiving to our Mother, the Earth, who is still carrying on her duties. Then we direct our thoughts, and our minds will go to what was planted here, the medicines that was first put down. And so we acknowledge them in great depth through and through, individually naming them as we walk about in our minds through the earth and all that was planted here. And we kindly and respectfully put our minds together as one and give a great thanksgiving to all the medicines that were put here, the medicines, the grasses and the shrubberies, so forth. And so we let it be that way in our minds, and we direct our thoughts next to the berries that provide for us. And we acknowledge, and we go through this thanksgiving in different paragraphs in this way. And as is explained earlier today, that time frame in this contemporary times puts us to the watch nowadays, that we got to pay attention to the clock. So we condense a lot of the message that was brought to us. In all reality, the message that I'm talking about here will take 8 days to explain it. Of course, there's plenty of time for food and dance, but it'll take 8 days. And then now today, in this time, we have translators also. So it takes a little bit more time. And so a lot of this is being cut short today. But I'm going to brief it up as best I can, wrap it up in your minds as one. Skada handwayang guat ni guhan, wadi etino ha, agwigi wadan wahain adat ha tona wanjake. And so we wrap our minds together, we bundle our minds and our thoughts together as one, and we give a great thanksgiving for all that was put here for us to survive. As we go through, we travel through the forest, and we acknowledge that the leaders of the trees, they all have a leader, as well as the animals. And so we put our minds together as one and give a great thanksgiving to the forest that they still carry on their duties to help provide for us in peace as we walk about here on earth. And we kindly and respectfully keep our minds that way. And then we direct our thoughts to the winds, the gentle winds that move the different seeds, the different breezes, and the different feelings of weather changings throughout our bodies as we feel them. And we give a great thanksgiving for them also. And also we direct our thoughts to the west, where the thunder beings come, and they bring with them, they bring water, and we're so grateful for the water. We kindly and respectfully put our minds together as one and give a great thanksgiving for the thunder beings still carrying on their duties, as was instructed by the Creator, to help us as we walk about on earth in peace and contentment. And then so we direct our thoughts to our elder brother, the sun, who warms our bodies, who warms the earth and helps the plant life come through. And also our grandmother Moon, who has the great responsibility of conducting the strengths of the currents and the directions of the waters and the flow as it goes along here on earth, and also the great responsibility of taking care that we have Hadigosadundies and Gwaksat, our children of the future that will come under her direction as she controls the waters in our mothers as we walk about here on earth. So we give a kind and respectful thanksgiving in a great way to our grandmother moon, our elder brother sun, and also to the stars who guide us at night and help set the ceremonies and help guide us in different ways and procedures and protocols in order to walk about at peace here on earth. And we direct our thoughts now to the four beings in the sky that watch over us by the daytime and by the nighttime, keeps our minds strong, keeps our minds focused on taking care of each other and our mother who takes care of us. It works in a balance, and it's up to the four beings, the four messengers, to watch over us as we walk about. So we kindly and respectfully put our minds together as one and direct our thoughts to the sky world of the beings that are watching over us as we walk about here on earth. And then we kindly and directly direct our thoughts now at this time to Creator, and then go through all again what was just mentioned in precise motion. No actual college rule as to how it goes, but it's put out that way. We all understand it as a great respect and a kind thanksgiving, an acknowledgement to the Creator that we're at peace and contentment here as we walk about on earth. And that's the short translation of the Thanksgiving address that we conduct each and every, whether it's a small gathering or a large gathering. We put our minds kindly and respectfully together as one, and we give a thanksgiving for all that's provided for us as we walk about here on Mother Earth in peace and contentment. So there's the translation, like I say. So as I was talking about, we were reminded by the peacemaker that this is what we do. And we've had it at the beginning of time, and we failed to acknowledge it because we're occupied with other things on our mind as far as hurting and destructing other peoples and chasing each other through the forest because, like I say, we're good at it. And so we accepted this message of peace and unity. And so this peace amongst the Haudenosaunee is the 5 nations. As it's explained, we all understand our fires individually, as a nation, as a community. As an individual, we all know it's our duty as an individual to protect our own fires, because we all know what happens when that fire goes out. So each nation has a fire. And when we open up a meeting such as this, we pull out the sacred wampum and we put this out. So now we know that the meeting is open. And all our good mind and good thoughts will be traveled directly through that as one. We come together as one mind to give thanksgiving. So now this was reminded to us, and we carry it on through the peacemaker's message, and he brings to us a unity. The Haudenosaunee consists of 5 nations. And starting from the east is the Mohawks. Just in the forest a little bit is the Oneidas. Onondaga is the capital of the Haudenosaunee, is Onondaga. Just a little bit further over to the west of us is the Cayugas. And the keepers of the western door is the Senecas. The Senecas are the keepers of the western door. The Mohawk Nation is the keepers of the eastern door. Anytime there's a disturbance, there's an agreement to be made, or a discussion to have, inside of each council is their own fire. Like I spoke of, we all know of our fires. And so that's their matters, what's inside that. Anything that happens and it may affect the neighbors, it becomes Haudenosaunee issue, and a grand council is summoned. Wampums are sent out as a message of invite to a grand council meeting, and all the matters, anything that may affect the brother nation is discussed with all the nations. We all become of one mind, and we gather. And when we gather, there's protocols and procedures is all in here. as we walk about on earth, we understand this as 5 nations. The love and the peace, the respect, the acknowledgement. We're all relatives. We're relatives in the forest. We're relatives to the trees, to the roots, to the birds, to the berries, down to the little seeds. And it's acknowledged that we give thanks that way. We all become of one mind to give thanks to all that was put here for us to survive in peace and contentment. And so when this meeting takes place, or anything that comes on, again, this Kanohenyo or Thanksgiving address is presented. And so we all have our council fires. And this is the council fire. When the peacemaker brought message to us, he explained to us that our actions were making the Creator sad. It was saddening him. And so that we must change our ways and accept this peace. So we did, and we do, and we carry this on. And so he explained in some details about this unity. And so he says, you take an arrow from each nation, bundle it. You take one arrow, and any man can snap that in half. That arrow can be broken. The arrow represents your livelihood, your defense of your nation, and so forth. And so he used an arrow as an example. And he says, now you take one from each nation. You take 5 arrows and bundle them together with the Sinu, which is the leader of the forest of the animals, is the deer. And placed on top of the horns of the deer are put on the leader's heads as a radar and acknowledgement of the forest as we walk about. The antlers themselves, or in English terms or modern terms, can be called as a radar to detect any kind of trouble coming. And so all these arrows are bundled together with the peace and love and respect and the ways and the honors and the protocols and the procedures and ceremonies and so forth is all bundled in there. So all those arrows now become one. No man can break them. But we can untwine it ourselves. And we're reminded of that. The unity in working together can break that, can protect that bundle by us not working together as was intended. That arrows will come apart, and by our own doings. So that's part of the message today to a lot of the young people. The unity. We don't discredit the education system, although the education has hurt our people in our cultures and in our ways. I'm trying to condense, I'm trying to get everything in here like this. If you can understand me, I'll be poking around like this, and I'll try to get back to each part of it as we go along. But the unity of the 5 nations. And so when you think of Washington, D.C., is the capital of the United States. Onondaga is the capital of the Haudenosaunee. And we shared this with our brothers. Anybody's welcome to come and join the shelter and peace of the great law of peace, is which it's called, the message that we received from the peacemaker. And so we explained to all that the roots extend in all directions, the white roots of peace, and everybody is welcome to follow them and seek shelter under this peace. And when they do come, and which many have, we don't ask them to change their ways. We bring them with you. We ask you to honor and respect the natural laws of life, which is governed by our existence. And we share that as a balance between us and all that was put here. All the birds, all the deer, all the corn, all that's mentioned in the Kanohenyo is a balance of human beings as we walk about. And so we share this with anyone seeking a shelter. And this extended all the way out to the Mississippi, down into the Carolinas, up into what's known as Canada. Because we heard earlier about these borders. The birds and the snow and the rain and the winds and all that we're thankful for don't stop at the border and ask for permission. There is no border for them. There is no border for us. Our borders are love and respect and sharing and caring and carrying on in a thankful way, which I'll get to a little bit further into that part on our survival, the ways we survive. And so this message is carried on through the peacemaker's vision of a unity and peace and contentment to make the Creator happy. And so this is a belt. There's the original belt is in our possession at Onondaga. It's over 1,000 years old. The scientists or whoever those people are, the colonizers, had it in their occupancy for a little while, since 1890 to I think it was 1989 that we got it back. New York State had it in their possession, and they analyzed it and so forth, and they couldn't come up with a date. But there's a lot of scholars who tried. There was a scholar who was holding it back from us because he's saying we didn't exist. Well, he was saying that without even visiting us. He was saying it by what's written in the colonizers' books. That's where he got his education from. And so we got to be careful. We know there's students. There's a lot of you young students here that are going to school. This is good. It's good for you to get an education. And so one part of the message to the youngsters attending school and furthering their education is to pay attention to your instructors in order to pass and graduate. Pay close attention to your elders and your culture in order to survive as people. There's a balance that we have to work in today, and we're doing so. That's what we're gathered for. Maintain that balance. And so, throughout the forest of Haudenosaunee means people of the longhouse. This is our house. This woods, this forest is our house. And these are the rooms occupied by certain nations. And anybody's welcome to come seek shelter under the love and peace of the message of the peacemaker. And so as we carry on, we notice, we've heard through the distance in the woods that there are settlers coming. There are some people coming to the shores. And so the Mohawks, eastern doorkeepers, went to greet them. And as Haudenosaunee, as the great law of peace talks of, we put our hand out. We put our hand out to them, noticing that they were weak and hungry, poor and sick, in need of a hand. And so we offered to them, like we heard today, we offered to them water. The first thing we do is acknowledge what their needs are. And then in our understanding and in our teaching, we understand long travels and journeys that people make. And so the first thing that we do is we gently brush down their ears and clear the dust from their ears so that they could hear. We give them a glass of water in a vase so that they can clear their throat, crystal clear water. And we brush off the dust from their eyes so that they can see all the beauty that is going to be explained to them on the lands that they have just arrived. So we do this procedure with any nation that comes under the shelter so that they can hear the messages clear and there's be no word misunderstood by clearing your throats. And you can see all. So we share this with them, and also we feed them very well. So these people, we do this because we looked at them they look kind of strange, these people. But they're like us. They got hands and ears, and they're just like us almost. This is what the Mohawks are reporting. They just look a little strange. And so, acknowledging that they were human, we fed them, took care of them, showed them how to hunt, gather, take care of themselves in the forest. We offered them room. We were under the understanding and belief that these people, although they look a little strange to us, had followed the roots of peace, seeking shelter under it. And so that's why we offer all this to them. So as time goes on, we understand that these people, they're not going away. They're making themselves comfortable, more so and more so once they learned about the forest and how to provide and be thankful. And see, when you look at Grand Council and there's anything to be decided on, and I talked about anything that's brought to Grand Council by all the nations, as well as individually, as well as the individual fire, it is understood that the decisions that we make today will in no way negatively affect future generations to come. So it takes a lot of deliberation because you almost have to project. And looking forward, if you're about to make a decision that may affect in a negative way the faces yet to come, then that's automatically dismissed. You go on to the next topic, next discussion. You can't rule and agree that you're going to do something that may negatively affect future generations. It just don't happen. It takes everything out of balance in this great law of peace. And so we explain all of this to these people as they come to the forest. We explain the great law of peace. Strength is in numbers and unity, and of one mind. The greatness that you receive as an individual, as a nation, as a confederacy, is the world. It expands out, starts at your own fire. The decisions you make starts right there also. And so this is all shared with these newcomers. This message of peace. And as we notice that these people are not coming around because they're afraid of the forest. So we go into them, we reach out to them again and show them that there's nothing in here to be afraid of. These are some of the mistakes that we've made. We should have created reservations a long time ago. We didn't do that. But we're learning. And so now we have this great people now. A lot of them were good people, and they understood, and we fed them, and they caught on well. Now that becomes the fur trade and so forth. We all hear about the history of the wars of the fur trade. But what you don't understand, what they don't teach you in school, is all the negativity that comes with it, because not everybody was good-hearted that came on them boats, on that ship. There was a lot of whiskey and rum, and they saw the effects of that to our people. And that became the main source, what's on the table. Anything we got to talk about, first thing they put out there is that to disrupt our minds. Te ga nigu hadeños, ontiasta ne Onondaga. In our language of Onondaga, it's called the mind changer. And so there's a lot of that going on in the forest, and it starts to disrupt our peace from day one. So we brought this message back to the Dutch people who are on along what we know of today as the Hudson River. And we thought that we should have this understanding clear. They're not understanding it, right? Because they're throwing us off balance with they got nigu hadeños in our young people's minds. And so we bring this message to them. And we said that we noticed that you're not moving along, you're going to stay here, and you're welcome to, but you still have to be reminded of the laws of the forest. So we came up with this agreement with them. It's called Gaswenta. When the Mohawk people met the Dutch people, and the Mohawks brought it in, affecting the Oneidas when they start going through the forest gathering and hunting and trapping and such, we thought it better come to Grand Council. This is affecting all of us in this, not just one room of our forest. And so Grand Council is summoned, and we have this meeting at Onondaga, and all the chiefs are there. And this is what we have to talk about, is these people aren't going away. So we re-educate them, and we come up with this agreement with them. It's called Gaswenta, and it's explained that the ship comes up the river, and it's tied to the trees, tied to a nut tree, butternut tree, I believe it was. And they said, we'll anchor you to the tree. Well, we all have our significance in different names, and Unyake Kaheno is the Oneidas. Kayanke Heno is the Mohawks. The Oneidas are the people of the standing stone. And so they said that we'll anchor it further into the forest, into the stone, we'll tie it to the stone. And they said that, well, now this comes into the Oneidas area, then we should anchor it to the hills. Onondaga in English means the people of the hills, Onondaga. Onondaga is the capital. So they anchor it now to the hills. And they said that this rope may get rained on and trampled on and run about and wear out, and the ship will drift off in the winds. And so they said that we should anchor it with a chain. And our people told them that that chain may rust. It's got a funny color to it every time it rains. And they said that it's going to be made of silver, and it's got 3 links, the covenant chain: peace, friendship, forever. The covenant chain, that term has been used in treaty negotiations throughout, from there on over, as it came out west. And so we have this agreement amongst ourselves, understanding peace and balance and so forth. And so we share it with these new people. And we come up with an agreement, and the agreement is called Guswenta. It's called the Two Row Wampum Agreement. And in this Two Row, it explains the white man in all his ways and his religions and his laws and his procedures and protocols and so forth are in his vessel. And the Unkwahui, which is us, the Native Americans, are in our canoe, traveling down side by each, traveling the river of life, not to interfere with each other's ways, cultures, religions, songs, dances, the way we dress, the way we talk, not to interfere with each other. We won't pass laws from our canoe over to their vessel. And they agreed that they won't pass laws from their boat over to our canoe, and that we would live side by side, traveling down the river of life, enjoying all what was put in here for us to survive in the forest. And so this came into agreement with the Dutch people. It was a trade agreement, it was a survival agreement, and it was an acknowledgement that we're going to live here amongst each other, side by side, traveling the river of life. Well, shortly after, like I said, that agreement has been violated. We had people who the fur trade would start kicking into high gear, and we had all kinds of people, renegade white guys, running through the woods, taking up on young men's trapping skills and for their own personal gain. So these violations happened right shortly after this agreement was made. So it's our responsibility to encourage the United States government. The United States government, when it was being formed, came to the Haudenosaunee again, seeking advice on the great law of peace, because they traveled through the forest and they could see 5 nations. This is their words too, somewhere in the text it's written, that 5 savage nations living so far apart from each other, yet be governed under one government. We need to find out how that works. And so they came to Onondaga looking for help on governance. And again, we put our hands out and offered help to them because we see their struggles. And so we explained to them, we reminded them, because their people already knew it, the Europeans had already heard the great law of peace. So we're reminding them of their obligations. And so they created their government, United States government, now 1700s. Now we're talking 100 years later after this agreement. This agreement came into effect in 1613. Great law of peace came to our people, according to some of the specialists there, and according to our oral teachings, somewhere around 1157 or 887, somewhere in that time frame. And so as we travel about, and these people come to our land looking for governance, how to run their people, because they're disgruntled with each other across the lands in their establishments, we share with them the great law of peace. And we explain to them what's all in the Thanksgiving address. And also the leader of the birds is the eagle. We share that with them amongst the bird land in the forest, and we give this idea to them because we understood now at this time that they were very, very thankful for the turkey because it fed them. When they first came about, when they were so hungry, the turkey was so abundant that that's the main meat that they ate was the turkey. And so over the time, they made the turkey their national bird until they heard the great loud peace and they changed it to the eagle. And also you'll notice in today's time they kept this too. They kept the eagle. You'll see it behind each president, and you'll see behind each judge and so forth. Their symbol is the eagle. In the clasp of the eagles is 13 arrows. And also what they don't teach you in the history class, but it's in your archives, is the 13 colonies. We all understand it. We all went to the schools there, and they teach you the 13 colonies. Well, what they called themselves prior to being that name was the 13 councils of fire, taken from the great law of peace. And the arrows you see in their hand is from that bundle, 13 arrows. And so as time goes on, and I'm speeding things along here, and there's a lot that's going to be missed out on because of time frame and contemporary times and such, going by, like I said, by the clock on the wall instead of the daylight. We set this day, and then we got time frames inside of it. So it brings us up into 1700s and some of the agreements that we've made with these new people. And so this guy named Benjamin Franklin, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that name. He's one of the writers. Well, during these travels of learning the great law of peace again by these new 13 councils of fires, this guy was taking notes from the translator. As the translator translated, he was there taking notes. I know it was Benjamin Franklin or Thomas Jefferson, one of the two were writers. Had a printing press down in Pennsylvania somewheres. And so as he's acknowledging our teachings of the great law of peace, he sees it come together for his people. And he drafts up a letter and sends it overseas to whoever had to read it, the queen or some king or somebody over there at the old world, old way, whatever they call that. And so he says, you got to be careful and pay close attention to what's going on here, because the people here are now being educated by the natives, and they're learning something called a government by the people for the people, that you should really put a sharp ear to what's going on here in this land. And so it brings us into George Washington and so forth. He comes across Haudenosaunee land, and he stands on this drumlin. He's looking across, and he says to his George Clinton, which was the first governor of New York State, somebody named DeWitt, Moses DeWitt, or DeWitt, I believe. He's a surveyor of land, and he's telling them, this is where I'm going to build my empire. He said, but there's a problem here. We got some Indians in the woods. So they acknowledged New York State to this day still uses that term, New York State's Indian problem. New York State don't have an Indian problem. Us Unkwehui have a New York State problem. And that's what we have to straighten out here. And so these agreements, George, if you notice now these words of George Washington, you look on a license plate in New York State, it says on the bottom, the Empire State. Comes from his vision of building his empire like the Romans did. So as a matter of fact, I got George Washington in a bag here. We had an agreement with George Washington, 1794. It's called the George Washington Belt. It's called the Canandaigua Treaty. It's called the Pickering Treaty, whatever they want to call it. This one here, because Washington and their people were having troubles with Native Americans because they didn't want to give up their land. So they were battling through Kentucky and Ohio and so forth. Well, George Washington understood if the Haudenosaunee joined forces with Tecumseh and all those men over there, that they wouldn't have a chance because they were already getting beat. So he came to us and asked us for peace. George Washington summoned the Haudenosaunee. You see these figures holding hands and locking arms. It goes back to the great law of peace. You'll see this symbol that we're all together as one with the 13 colonies. Those 13 men on the sides represent the 13 councils of fire, which was the newly formed America government. The house in the middle represents our house right here. This is our house throughout the forest. The United States recognizes that. And like I told you, that the keeper of the eastern door is the Mohawks, keeper of the western door is the Senecas. So you see the 13 colonies and you see the 2 guarding the house. George Washington promised never to take our land. That promise was violated in 1795. This treaty was made November 11th, 1794 in Canandaigua. We have the original belt at home at Onondaga. We took it to Washington, D.C. last year to summon the people of America to persuade their government to honor treaties. Honoring the Two Row Wampum is the foundation. This is known as the foundation of treaty making throughout North America by the United States. The United States used that covenant chain. You'll hear that term when you look back in those agreements, the covenant chain of friendship, peace, and forever. And the way we understand forever, they couldn't see it because they already understood the peace and the friendship part because we offered it to them. We explained it to them. The forever part was, as long as the sun shines from the east and sets in the west, as long as the grass grows green, and as long as the water flows downhill, that this agreement will be in effect. And so we shared this with the newly formed government, reminded them of it, used that covenant chain. In the treaty making as it comes across over to this way and to the west, it's explained, and you can read it, you can understand it, that now they stopped using the covenant chain, but they used manifest destiny. This is what we have to discourage people from listening to and believing that it's affecting your people in a good way. What we understand about treaty making, we never, ever gave anybody plenary power over us. We maintain our own sovereignty. The United States had passed a law in 1924 granting citizenship to all Native Americans. Onondaga Nation promptly and swiftly sent a letter to, I think it was President Coolidge, and told him thank you, but no thank you. We'll maintain our own citizenship, which brings us to the identity of today that we have in our travels. We get documents and illegal documents, they call it, and so forth. Well, we travel on our own Haudenosaunee passport. I have mine with me right here. We travel all over the world on our own Haudenosaunee. We don't wait. We don't ask for them for permission. We never gave them permission to make laws onto us. We understood that way back then, and they understood how we meant it, and they agreed to it under the Two Row Wampum. So this year, 2013 is 400-year anniversary of this agreement, and what we're doing, we're going to paddle from Onondaga Nation over to Albany on the waters, and then we're going to pick up with the Oneidas, the Cayugas are joining us, and all the nations are going to paddle to Albany, New York. And at Albany, New York, on July 27, we're going to paddle down, and we have allies from Syracuse and surrounding neighborhoods that we call our neighbors. They go by the name of Noon, Neighbors of Onondaga Nation, and they're going to paddle a lot. Well, they're going to be in their boat, and we're going to be in our canoe, and we're going to travel down the Hudson River from Albany down to Pier 96 in Manhattan, and we're going to walk across Broadway, and we're going to take our message to the United Nations again on August 9th. It's a 13-day paddle. Anybody's welcome to join and support in any way you can. And so when we get to the United Nations, it just so happens to be August 9th is World Indigenous Day. So I thank you all for listening, and hope we can carry on this type of dialogue in the future as unity. Tanek.